Anything by Dan John is fantastic, specifically Intervention and Can You Go. Same thing with Pavel, specifically Simple and Sinister. And Overcoming Gravity is fantastic when it comes to specific calisthenics. If you have the right foundation, the muscle up should not take years. It should take weeks. So you should already have enough strength in your pulling and pushing and grip strength in order to do a muscle up. So you need to have a very good false grip, pull up, and a dip. Now, if you find pull-ups and dips easy and you still can't muscle up, then you need to either look at the form of those exercises or continue getting stronger with weighted pull-ups and weighted dips. The handstand push-up is a combination of handstand, bent arm stand, and then coordinating it together. So you need to be able to do both of those before actually attempting the handstand push-up. Now, what I would suggest in a programming perspective is to split it up, doing handstands GTG style, meaning you do a little bit throughout the week, and you could even split it up a little bit each day throughout the day. With handstand push-ups specifically, I would suggest working on bent arm stand progressions once a week and chest to wall handstand push-up progressions another day of the week, so you have this combination of strength, balance, and coordination all in the week without overdoing it. Handstands are a skill, and when it comes to body weight skills, you will have a direct relationship with having a much easier time performing them when your body fat is lower. So weight loss is a good goal in that instance. Now, you want to do it in a way that isn't going to drain all of your energy, and when it comes to handstands, you also want to train in a way that isn't going to drain your energy. So I would suggest GTG style. Lots of beginners want to do full-on handstand programs, where typical handstand programs will look like you do prep for about 5 to 20 minutes depending on the program. Then you move on to a skill-specific progression. But then most programs will have you do another progression after that, and another progression after that, and then another progression after that. So you're doing 1 to 4 skills/drills in a day, and that can completely wear you out. My suggestion for handstand is to always just train 1 to 2 drills a day in a way that won't exhaust your body, and leave the strength and conditioning for exercises like pull-up progressions. To rebalance the handstand and save it from falling either backwards or forwards, you need to always keep your center of mass over your center of support. And for a lot of people in the handstand position, it's going to be keeping your belly button over your hands. How do you do that? Well, you need to practice being able to pull your heels off of the wall, and that way you'll be able to translate it to the freestanding handstand. So you're going to practice pulling your heels away from the wall when your back is facing the wall, and then you're going to practice pulling your toes off of the wall when your chest is against the wall. That way you can train both at the same time and translate it to the handstand. To train balance, you don't need any equipment at all. You can do it all with just your body weight. Now, depending on the skill that you're trying to work on, for example, a slack line, you're going to need a slack line, but at the very least, you can get started with just body weight exercise. For example, if you're trying to improve your leg balance, you can balance on one leg, and if that's too hard, you can hold on to something and gradually over time reduce the amount that you're holding. And when it comes to hands, you can always work along the wall or practice easier progressions on the ground with things like elbow levers, crow, elbow lever, single arm lever, and many other variations that you can practice, even including headstand and crow variations. The first time I ever went climbing, here's a funny story. I was not able to drive my car back home. I had to turn the steering wheel with my hands over the wheel, basically, and drive with my wrists. When it comes to activities that are recreational and you're not doing it to compete, the best thing that you can do is develop an all-around approach by improving movement patterns, push, pull, squat, hip hinge, and core to tackle every muscle in your body, bring balance, and avoid asymmetries. Now, if you're competing, especially at an elite level, that's a totally different question and something better suited for a rock climbing coach who has experience training rock climbers at that level. I have never thought about starting a podcast simply because I wouldn't know how to, but if I did the research, I'm sure I can figure that out. But I like to stick with my strength points, and I can make many mistakes here, whereas a podcast is less forgiving. I always recommend including a forward lean when you're doing chest to wall handstand push-ups, even if freestanding handstand push-up is not the goal, simply because leaning forward will load your shoulders much more, and that's the point of strength training. That's everyone. You're always going to find one side stronger or weaker or tighter or more flexible than the other. We're asymmetrical creatures because we're always going to favor one side, but we want to do our best to close the gap. There's a couple things that you can do. A lot of people like to hold their stronger, more flexible side back so that the other side catches up. I don't really like this approach. I don't recommend it. Instead, what I would suggest is starting and ending with that weaker or tighter side. So that way you sneak in just one extra set, but you train as normally. The 90-degree handstand push-up is a combination of handstand push-up and bent arm planche. So my suggestion would be to work on isolating the handstand push-up and planche push-up on parallettes and continue getting stronger. I'm an open book. You can ask me any question. If it's too personal, I just won't respond. And then you can ask a different question later on. The terms beginner and moderate are used interchangeably a lot, as well as skills. Lots of overlapping between strength and skill. My suggestion is to work on movement patterns such as vertical push, vertical pull, horizontal push, and horizontal pull. And that way you can choose a skill or exercise within each category. Then once you start getting stronger, you can start applying different skills. For example, the front lever is a skill a lot of people want to work on the rings and falls into the horizontal category, whereas the muscle up is a combination of horizontal pushing and vertical pulling. What I would consider a beginner level exercise that most people should start working on is a pull-up. And you can do it on rings, and I feel it's much more comfortable on rings, and it doesn't make it harder because there's no instability when you're pulling. Ring push-ups, ring rows, and ring pike push-ups. The reason I like that is because you can incline all of those, and as you get stronger, you can start bringing them to a more horizontal position. My absolute favorite breakfast, if I ever go out and pay for breakfast, will be crepes. I just absolutely love crepes. I love the variety, but I'll usually get crepes with lingonberries. The Calisthenics Big Five. Why are they important in the first place? They're important because they're compound exercises, meaning they use multiple joints and multiple muscles. So they're going to give you a huge bang for your buck when you're comparing something like a pull-up versus bicep curl. In the bicep curl, you're only using your elbow joint, whereas in the pull-up, more muscles means more force, more energy expenditure, more coordination within your body. So you're also being more time efficient, and that's a huge bonus when it comes to programming. Now, when it comes to calisthenics specifically, we have the ability to apply accommodating resistance incredibly easy, allowing us to train full range of motion and increase the intensity with modification according. So the Big Five is great because it's allowing you to get a lot of time efficiency into your programming because of the carryover that it will have. So free gains is one of those topics, or the what the hell effect, like Pavel calls it. I'm actually posting a tutorial from one of my clients tomorrow that gained and improved his Pelican push-up from training the Big Five, as well as some other movement patterns that I'll talk about in a little bit. So I don't like the Big Five in isolation. I simply like the Big Five as big compound movements that should be included but not be the sole purpose. For example, I like the Big Five because it falls easily into the way I program things. And I like to program into movement patterns: vertical push, vertical pull, horizontal push, horizontal pull, squat. And that's where the Big Five stops. But I like to keep going because I like to include hip hinge movements to develop power from the hips. But I also like including intelligent core exercises broken down into rotation, anti-rotation, flexion, and extension. If you work on all of those components, you're going to be developing range in your strength by being able to work on new things, work on new skills, take up new activities with confidence in your body to be able to do them. That's exactly how I've programmed the all-around strength program. Vertical push, vertical pull, horizontal pull, squat, hip hinge, rotation, anti-rotation, flexion, and extension. And in that program, you'll find progressions for advanced, intermediate, and beginners, so anyone can do this program on each of those movement patterns, tackling exercises and skills like the front lever, the one-arm chin-up, handstand push-up, planche push-up, single leg squat, hip hinge movements like the single leg deadlift, core movements like the human flag, sit-through, the bridge, and the L-sit. If you want to become all-around and work up to really cool calisthenics skills, and then maybe one day perform an activity that you might not have thought possible because now you have the confidence in your body to do them, I highly suggest doing this program. You can click the link here to find more information about the program, or you can go to my main page where I have an FAQ highlight bubble. And if you have any questions that you want to ask directly to me, I'm more than happy to answer them.